Hi, welcome to my art blog. I'm Alma. So I started the painting that I want to show you guys today. I went to the Palace of Queluz here in Sintra this past weekend and spent a lovely afternoon there. I'm going to show you some footage of it. What I did was I took one of the rooms of the palace and used it as a jumping off point to show you my approach to creating a room. One of my subscribers suggested I show how to, paint a room, and I thought I would keep it really simple and fun with some bright colors. It's not going to be a realistic rendition, but it's just, my approach, and hopefully you'll enjoy it. So I didn't use too many supplies. I am using acrylic gouache paint, which I find is a little bit easier to use if you're a beginner with gouache. I'm actually going to start with a Posca pen, a nice chunky pen, and just going to do just the general outlines of the shapes. I'm going to change the room just a little bit, but I'm going to talk you through the whole process. So I hope you guys enjoy it. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this video. Thank you so much for being here. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And of course, I welcome you to subscribe. I would love to have you aboard. I absolutely love answering questions about art. And if I can help you in any way on your artistic process, let me know. Okay, I want to start out by saying if you would like to create your own version of this room, you're absolutely welcome to do so. Take screenshots. This is a great practice opportunity, I think. I'm going to do my best to explain, what I'm doing. The photo is not a perfect square, but I'm working the photo as a square in my sketchbook, which is why that bottom line is there. Now I'm looking at the corner on the right-hand side, and I'm extending the wall to the right, the bottom of the wall to the right, and then the bottom of the bed wall all the way to the left corner. And I'm sorry I cut off what I'm doing on the right now. I forget sometimes that I'm filming, but you'll see it here in just a moment. So essentially, you can see that I gave myself more room on the floor and on the ceiling. And the reason I did that is, you'll see here in a moment, I want to show a little more rug, and I also want to show a little more chandelier. But I'm going to take away a lot of information from the photo. So I've decided I want my doors, my French doors that you see on the right there, to be open. So that's why I'm sketching in these open doors. I want the mirror to be a little more in the corner. So you're going to see me move it into the corner a little bit more. And that second set of French doors next to the bed, I'm actually going to eliminate those as well and just do a painting there instead. I'm going to try to stay true to the bed. I really love the drape on the bed, and I feel like the drape and the chandelier are going to work really well together. So I'm sort of thinking ahead of, okay, I need repetitive shapes. So to me, the draping and the chandelier just have that very flowy, curvy feel. So I like that. I'm going to simplify even further by just putting 5 candelabra lights. And there's a lot going on in the chandelier, but I just want to keep just some basic ideas about it. There are these little candelabras, there's this dome-shaped bottom, and then there's that drapey feel coming from the top. So I quickly realized that I'm out of acrylic gouache white, so I'm going to go ahead and use gouache, but it'll be fine because there's enough acrylic in the acrylic gouache that it will all act like acrylic gouache. I'm keeping the palette really simple and very limited. Okay, I'm using a number 10 round brush, and that's because I don't want to get finicky with the details. I just want to put in some color, do some general shapes. You can see that I'm going to keep some of the Posca pen visible, and some of it I'm just going to paint right over. I don't think about it too much. I just sort of, as I go, I sort of determine, I like this line. I'm going to try to keep that pink line, but I'm not married to the idea. Now I'm just blending some of the colors. And I like to be really adventurous with color. I like to discover colors. Here I'm just figuring out, okay, how dark do I want the woods to be in this painting? I do want there to be consistency, so I'm going to keep the bed frame, the mirror, and that little table on the right similar colors. You could see that I mixed the rose and the green to get brown, and then I added the mustard just to give it a little bit of that hint of, yellowy green in that wood tone. Also, I'm not going to make the floor wood. I want to keep it light so that the whole room feels a little more airy, since I do want to use dark green on the walls. Just there I added with the Posca pen, kind of like, a chair rail that you would see through French doors, if they were open. This is very watered down ceiling. It's just kind of a pink with just a teensy bit of black, a lot of water. For those of you new to painting, I want to point out just how simple the sketch is, just general shapes, and the painting, is messy. And I love painting this way because I feel like it feels fresh and it feels childlike, and that's just the style that I like right now. So I hope that this gives you a feeling of permission, just to have fun with the colors, and experiment. Now, on the right-hand side, I used a little bit of black on that green so that, when you're looking at a room, the window that's open is usually reflecting light across the room, but that wall that window is on is generally darker. So I'm just suggesting that idea with just a little bit of black. Now, black can easily change your paint dramatically, so I just recommend like the tiniest little dot of it when you're mixing colors. Here I'm wanting a color that is, very different than just out of the tube. So I'm mixing the rose and the mustard together to create this bedspread color. The top is a little bit darker. Obviously, I'm adding white here to the sides. Again, the idea is that there's light coming in and shining in on that bedspread. And now I'm using that same color on the drapes just to give it that idea of a shadow. And again, these are just suggestions. It's not realistic. It's not meant to be realistic. But what I love about our brains is that we fill in details, right? Like we can look at that and understand on that drapery that those are shadow lines, even though they're not precise. And now I'm not using any blue paint, and I can't mix it with any of the colors I have, so I'm just going to use a little bit of that off-white to suggest the sky outside the open French doors. And now I'm just suggesting what it is that I see in the mirror, which is just part of the bed frame, a little bit of the bed, and then I'm imagining that the wall behind is also being seen. I used a lot of water in parts, so while it dries, I will do my intro and show you some footage of the palace. So the bed is sloping a little bit to the left, so you can see here I'm kind of building it up just a little bit with some leftover paint from my palette. I'm using a number 6 round for detail work, and because I'm dealing with a third of the size of this painting, I decided that just a simple flower vase would work. There was a lot happening in the gardens outside, and I just really didn't feel like being that detailed. So I actually see this palace, it's called the Penna Palace. It's probably the most famous palace here in Sintra. I see it from so many different vantage points, and so I know what it looks like, I know its shape, so I just decided that I would put it in the background in the mountains, and then sort of create just a very impressionistic look, like a little patio maybe that you could walk out on and you could see this bigger vista. I'm still using the colors that I selected. I'm just doing different little blends, using a lot of white. I didn't mix a particular skin tone. I just found a bit of paint on my palette that already looked like skin, so that I just used that. Now at this point, I'm really thinking more about contrast. And I've said this a million times on other videos, it feels like the human eye sees contrast before it sees color. So even though there are some very bright colors here, really what I want to do is make sure it works so that the eye keeps moving around. And that's why I'm not really too worried about what colors I'm using with the details. I'm just really thinking about how can I make things stand out against one another. So that's really the goal. I was a little bit challenged with this larger painting, what to do in the actual palace. There were a lot of paintings of the people that had lived in the palace. There were also, a lot of paintings of fruit and abundance, symbols for abundance. But I kind of wanted, to make this more my own. And I liked the idea that, now that I've painted this room pink and it's very feminine, I wanted a little bit of a symbol for feminine power. And to me, a horse, a woman on a horse, that really exemplifies that. However, I still wanted the piece to echo from the past. So I'm having her sit side saddle, which isn't my favorite thing, but I just thought I'm just going to do it. My daughter is a horseback rider, and I just feel like her connection with horses is so powerful, and it really empowered her growing up. So I thought that I needed to add a horse. I started to use a 0.7 millimeter Posca pen, but then decided that I wanted the window frames to stand out a little bit more, so that's why I'm painting them. Unfortunately, I kind of mess with the window above the door a little too much. I liked it at this stage, but then I started to add all this black, and suddenly it stood out too much to me. So I kind of paint around it. I try to fix it later on, you'll see, but it's fine. I mean, I feel like the whole thing just works overall, and I'm happy with it. I love the colors. But you can see here with the Posca pens that, they're very thin. The 0.7 millimeter is great for adding these little details, but I'm also adding them with a really light touch. So I'm just using them very barely, just to touch the surface of the paper. The horse seems pretty small to me in relation to the figure, but it's fine. This is the thing that I practice, is loving what I make and finding things about it that do work. And I really feel like the colors and the composition of the room, that works. I love how it's all coming together with the details. I think this is a really important exercise to do, to find things that we like. I mean, I just pointed out a couple things that I don't like, and I can feel like my energy draining a little bit even as I say it, So I'm just going to say it. Artwork, I'm really sorry. I love you. You've brought me tons of joy making you, and I think you're very pretty. So at the end here, one of the things that really struck me at this palace were the ceilings. They were so magnificent, and just the incredible amount of art on them. What I decided I wanted to do is see if I could create the illusion that I have a pitched ceiling by just adding these lines that go kind of, up towards the chandelier. And I feel like it kind of worked, like it looks like the ceiling is a little bit pitched. And of course I'm adding these just very simple flowers that I add to all my artwork, but also varying their size, so that it seems like the ones that are farther away are smaller, or let me reverse that, so that the smaller ones feel like they're in the distance, right, a little bit farther away. What I like about the Posca pens is they are acrylic paint pens, so you can paint over them, which is really great without smearing them once they're dry. So that's why I painted over that medallion. I just wanted it to soften up a little bit and kind of go with this, the ceiling motifs that I was doing. And then finally I'm using the Posca pen, the pink one that I used initially, to make these little flowers. If you like this style of painting, I'm thinking of another video you may like of Montserrat Palace, where I began with 2 bright Posca pens like I did in this video. And thanks so much for hanging out with me. I'd love to know if you gave this room a try, or if you painted something similar, or if you're planning on it. I'm happy to answer any questions about art, and as always, have a wonderful week, everyone. Thanks again for watching.